At the beginning of the movie, we see a man who learns that he has lung cancer. This man's name is Richard, and he is a college professor of literature. His doctor tells him that without the necessary treatment, he will live for a maximum of 6 months. Richard comes to work very depressed. All day long, he does nothing but try to come to terms with his fate and understand that this is really happening to him. But in the end, Richard fails. During dinner, Richard is sitting at the table with his daughter Olivia and his wife Veronica. The man wanted to tell them about his illness, but suddenly Olivia confesses that she likes girls. Veronica laughs and says that her daughter's preferences will soon pass. Richard does the opposite, trying to support his daughter. Veronica and Olivia quarrel, and then the girl leaves, offended, leaving Richard and Veronica alone. The woman tells him that she is cheating on him with Henry, Richard's boss, all for the sake of her promotion. Richard is surprised that she is cheating on him with Henry because, according to her husband, Henry is just a pile of garbage with no good in him. Veronica disagrees and leaves, but before she does, she asks her husband what he has been trying to say since the beginning of the dinner. Without thinking twice, he starts joking. He says he wanted to tell her how sorry he was that he only had 2 eggs. The next day, Richard gives a lecture and, standing in the audience, calculates the qualities of the students he wants to continue teaching. And those who do not have these qualities can leave because he will automatically give them 3 points. But those who stay will have to read only 1 book and give a review to their classmates. After this statement, almost all the students leave their seats, and the teacher continues to humiliate them. Richard looks at the remaining students and notices a feminist student among them. He declares that he is not interested in feminism, and the last thing he wants to do right now is listen to any gender inequality. Bidding farewell to the students, Richard says that the class is canceled because he urgently needs to vent his emotions. If any of the students know where to get some green grass, he will be happy to wait for them in his office. Richard closes the door behind him, leaving the students in a daze. Afterwards, Richard goes to the bar and has a drink with his best friend Peter. Richard asks for help to get a leave of absence and tells his friend about his diagnosis. Peter sympathizes with Richard and tries to comfort him, but Richard asks him to stop feeling sorry for him. The next day, Richard suggests that Veronica not tell her daughter about their family discord. In turn, Richard gives his wife complete freedom in her relationship with her lover, but no longer wants to be faithful to her. They have a very nice conversation and get drunk on alcohol mixed with pills. That evening, Olivia brings her friend home and finds her parents in a bad state. She takes her friend away, while her parents continue to drink and have fun. At night in bed, Veronica regrets that she reacted badly to her daughter's confession. At the lecture, Richard meets his remaining students. He asks a girl named Claire to tell him about herself, and it turns out that she is Henry's niece. This is the man with whom Richard's wife is cheating on him. But Claire says that she doesn't like her uncle very much either. The professor suggests that the students change the location and go to a pub. There, Richard shares his life wisdom with the boys. A waitress approaches them, Richard flirts with her, and the girl reciprocates. Richard raises his glass and says that he needs to cheat on his wife right now in the bathroom. He tells the boys to have fun, and he goes to the restroom and has fun with the waitress while Veronica has fun with Henry. Richard returns to the table and asks the students to tip the waitress generously. He also instructs one feminist to read a certain book. The students are somewhat shocked by his actions. Later, during a family dinner, Richard suggests that Veronica apologize to her daughter. Olivia accepts the apology. A new school day begins. A feminist student speaks to the students and Richard. She expresses her opinion about the essay she read. The professor concludes that the girl has begun to change for the better. After a while, a student comes into Richard's office and gives him the forbidden cupcakes for free. Richard thanks him and tries the treat. The student flirts with the professor and offers him intimacy. Richard asks him to pour him a whiskey and agrees to this strange offer. At home, Richard talks to Olivia. He asks his daughter if she is happy with her girlfriend. Olivia answers that she is very happy. The father is very happy and proud of his daughter. During class, Richard takes his students out on the lawn in front of the college. They are using various substances and drinking alcohol. Peter cannot bear to see Richard destroy himself, so he takes him to a cancer support group. The professor listens to the stories of the other patients and says that they are just wasting their time, which they have very little of. He suggests that they all go out and have fun, but no one agrees. Richard wishes everyone good luck and goes with Peter to a pub. After drinking a lot of alcohol, Richard shares his idea with Peter. He does not want to wait for the end, but wants to go on a journey. Claire enters the pub. Richard sends a drunken Peter home in a taxi. Claire offers the teacher another drink. She orders a song, and Richard tells her about his diagnosis. Claire says she admires Richard and asks him to dance. During the dance, Claire reaches out to kiss Richard, but Richard collapses and is taken to the hospital. When Veronica returns home from the hospital, she asks Richard where he has been. He apologizes, but doesn't tell his wife about his problems. He ruins his workday again. Henry calls Richard to his office. Henry threatens to fire the professor for his recent behavior. Richard says he knows about the affair, and now Richard threatens Henry that he will tell his wife. In exchange for his silence, Richard demands a sabbatical for the robots, and Henry has no choice. During class, Claire talks to her classmates. She talks about the need and importance of love in this world, and looks at Richard with sad eyes. Richard concludes the lesson with a speech about the need to live the way you want to. Otherwise, everything was in vain. In his office, Richard feels sick and falls to the floor. Peter finds him in this state. Richard asks his friend to go to church with him. There, Richard shares with Peter his feelings about his life. It seems that Richard is saying goodbye to his friend. Peter can't stand it and starts to cry. They embrace, trying to calm each other down. Later, Henry hosts a company dinner, which Veronica and Richard attend. Richard immediately approaches Henry's wife and passionately kisses her on the lips in front of her husband and his wife. Henry pretends that nothing has happened. During dinner, Richard stands up and tells everyone about his illness. He publicly hints that Henry is sleeping with his wife. He also thanks Peter for their good friendship and says that despite the betrayal, he is very happy that Veronica is his wife. Richard is still in love with her, just as he was before. At the end of the dinner, Richard says goodbye to his wife. He asks Veronica to always try to be happy. Richard hugs Veronica, who is crying, and looks at her with loving eyes for the last time. Then they say goodbye. At home, Richard doesn't have time to prepare for his daughter's arrival. Olivia is depressed because her friend cheated on her. Richard tries to calm his daughter down by pouring her a drink and himself. Olivia asks her father what happened to him, and then Richard tells her about his diagnosis. As he says goodbye to his daughter, he asks her to always walk straight and not to deviate from her path. He also says that he is very proud of her. Richard says he will miss her very much. Standing on the porch, Olivia looks at her father, who is sitting in the car. Richard gives his daughter one last air kiss, and Olivia watches her father drive away. He drives away from the house. Stopping at an intersection, Richard stares into the void for a while. After pulling off the road, he drives straight ahead, choosing his own path. At this sad moment, the movie ends.